Because, after Anthropic's latest release, I think SaaS companies in the US have started taking a really brutal hit. Like the stock prices are getting affected quite a bit. But so then you're not a believer in AGI happening, or, like what does AGI happening even mean?
Yeah, so, okay.
Because I thought your answer would be more on the lines of, okay, in 3 to 5 years, AGI has happened and, singularity has been achieved, things like that.
Yeah. So okay. So I think this notion of AGI is definitely like very talked about, but very ill-defined. What is intelligence? Like, is that a question that I don't have an answer to that question? Like, do you?
No.
Right? And so, but now we're trying to think about, okay, we don't even know what intelligence is. And yet we're somehow like, okay, this technology will achieve intelligence. And our notion of what that even means has sort of shifted over time. Like before, like many years ago, kind of one would have said, if something can produce convincing sounding language, then we've achieved intelligence. Now we're saying, okay, can it solve math? Can it do X? Can it do Y? Can it do Z? And our definition of what it means to like have a technology that's intelligent has like shifted, and it keeps shifting. So are we gonna have technologies that get better, that do surprising things? Yes. Like I mean, as much as I've sort of given a little bit of a critical angle on kind of the trajectory of like chatbot technologies, it's incredible, right? Kind of this idea that like from like large scale data processing, you can put in a question and kind of get something that's in principle in some way kind of finding patterns across the entirety of internet data to give you what seems like a reasonably convincing answer. When I started my PhD, kind of code generation, like generation of code was thought of as like a really hard problem and the one that could never be solved. And I don't think we've solved it now, but like our code generation technologies are just much more impressive now than they were even like 5 years ago. So I think this question of like, will we see technologies that do kind of things that are impressive and that kind of we can find use for, I think for sure. Like, does that mean that we have achieved artificial general intelligence? I'm not sure. I think this term is sort of kind of overloaded, and I think different people mean different things when they say that, and honestly, I think sometimes it is a bit of a marketing term.
Yeah, I agree, because, one would assume, like with this talk of AGI, have you watched that movie, Her?
Yes.
Yes. One would assume that that's the direction that we're moving towards. As someone deeply invested in this space, do you think that could be true?
I mean, I think that kind of these ideas of like, we already like are seeing people use like GPT as their therapist, confidant, etc. Kind of the idea of, okay, now you like put Scarlett Johansson's voice on that or something like that is
that didn't go well.
That did not go well. Yeah. But like this idea that you can kind of put these voices on it, right? Like that, in some sense, like those particular kinds of uses, like you can even envision those happening today. And then I think alongside that, which I think like a lot of sort of sci-fi and fiction also does a great job highlighting kind of what could happen and what are the risks of that, right? And so I think that in the same way we're going to see like technology capabilities get more advanced, I think we also then, as we see also deployments become more ubiquitous, have to be even more careful about like, what are the risks, and are we kind of designing ahead of time in a way that prevents those risks rather than just playing catch up afterwards? This is where like industry and regulatory frameworks can also play a big role, because we now almost take for granted, right? Imagine you're building a software that's going to collect passwords and other personal data. We kind of know kind of in the industry now that you have to build software that is private by design. And that you have to build in those practices from the beginning, because most every situation where all of that functionality was built afterwards and kind of like retrofitted in, like you have gotten big like leaks in data and consumer issues. And so it's almost taken for granted, like you need to have software that's private by design. But I think in the AI space, this is not taken for granted right now, that you need to build methodologies that are safe by design, private by design, fair by design, et cetera. And so I think we're going to see real technological advancements in the next years. But what worries me is not like whether we reach AGI or not, but it's about whether we take kind of the risks that come with advanced technology and advanced proliferation of that technology seriously, and design for the fact that that proliferation is happening, rather than just thinking we'll worry about these things like privacy after the fact.
Yeah, absolutely.